Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we will talk about stuff and things that I have written down on this notebook, including a couple little announcements. We'll start off the episode with that, but then we will get to upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. We will get into some travails I've been having with nature photos. I'm trying to take pictures of a particular bird that frequents our yard at home. A question that somebody asked, and I'm going to try to finally nail down what my favorite pipe manufacturer is. And then we have some interesting questions and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get to it. All right, so first of all, we have to address something that happened last week, and I hesitate to even mention this because I don't want to make it into a huge deal, but last week, someone wrote in to hashtag askstuffandthings with a question, and the question seemed innocuous enough, and I read it out, and I read the name of the person. It was via a YouTube comment, I believe, and thought nothing of it. Just recorded the episode, nothing occurred to me, there was nothing wrong. Didn't think anything was wrong. Posted the video, and I started noticing comments I was getting from people where people were mentioning the name that I had read out, but I hadn't even remembered the name because I get the comments, I read them. Anyway, they were mentioning the name and then saying like, what? I had to rewind like 5 times to make sure I was hearing that right. That name, and they kept mentioning the name. And guys, if you're watching this and you remember this, there's no need to leave anything in the comments about this person. They should just be excised from the historical record. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I kept seeing these comments. I got several comments. I was like, what are they talking about? And it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to even realize what they were referring to. And then it finally occurred to me, and I was quite irritated because basically the name, now it's entirely possible that someone just has this name. It is possible, but it seemed as though if you looked at the name that it could have been that they took the first letter of each word, the first name and the last name, and if you switch them, it would mean something fairly awful and racist. And I did not notice this when I was reading the question, and even when I mentioned it to my fiance, she didn't even understand what was going on when we were trying to figure out what was going on with the comments. But it finally occurred to me, and not wanting to take any chances, I went back into the video, I edited out that question and that person's name, and I responded to the comments, and hopefully that can all just be put behind us. I guess if anything, the fact that I didn't notice anything about it just shows that my mind doesn't go there typically. That's not the kind of word that ever comes to my lips, and it's not really the way I think about the world. And so it just didn't occur to me. So suffice to say, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more careful when I read these questions out and try to make sure that, I guess I'll look through every name and make sure that there aren't any horrible, weird puns or things that people are trying to do to try to get me to say. So let's put that behind us. And next, just a random thought that occurred to me. We have to wear masks. In the state of Washington, at least, whenever you're in an indoor area, you have to wear a mask, and I do. I comply with that because, we live in a society. Whether or not you agree with it, it's what you have to do when you go into grocery stores, restaurants, whatever. And, we can talk about some of the things that we don't like about it. I don't like the fact that people's voices are kind of muffled. I don't like the fact that you can't really see people's expressions. But something occurred to me the other day. Now let me just put this on. And the thing that occurred to me sort of brought home like, oh, that's what I've been seeing for, almost 2 years now. And if I finally realize what it is that this was reminding me of. Now, does this remind you of anything? Just this face with this kind of mask? If you are of a certain age, you may have watched the television show G.I. Joe. And on G.I. Joe, there was an evil terrorist leader named Cobra Commander. This is Cobra Commander. Everyone is walking around as though they are part of COBRA, the evil terrorist organization and the sworn enemy of the Joes. everyone looks like they are a foot soldier in COBRA. I never thought I would be living in a 1980s Saturday morning cartoon. I guess they did that a lot because it just made it easier not to have to animate people's lips when they were speaking. They did that in Transformers too, where like the Autobots would just have a face like this and they'd go, "Roll out, Autobots." Anyway, random thoughts. Okay, so what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays? Well, I just recorded the first impressions video for this. Is that showing up? Yes. It is Cringle Flake 2021 by Sutliff. I can't remember if I did a first impressions video of this last year, but I definitely did a full review. And we are going to do a first impressions and a full review this year. The full review will post nearer to Christmas. And you know, it's always hard when you've only had one tin of something and it was a year ago, but it seemed to me that this Cringle Flake from 2021 had a pretty different character from the Cringle Flake of 2020. So if you were kind of on the fence, I know it might be hard to get now. I think it usually comes out around October and people buy it up pretty quickly. It's a limited edition blend. So if you have a tin of this and you're wondering, oh, maybe I'll just leave it, won't open it for a few years or whatever, let it age, because it's probably similar to the 2020. I think it's quite different, and I think you might enjoy it quite a bit. So check out the first impressions video that'll be posting this Wednesday. And then we will be hitting the SPC, what is it? SPC PPSRF, the Seattle Pipe Club Plum Pudding Special Reserve Flake. We'll be getting to that soon as well. And then, of course, Demon Souls every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Kevin the Kurt's adventures are continuing on Stuff and Things Plays. So I've talked to you in the past about how I've been trying to get some nature photographs, and I've even showed you some, or shown you some pictures I've taken of eagles and crows and various other animals around. That's an ongoing thing. I'm still trying to take pictures of animals. I got that 600mm f11 Canon lens, so it's really nice focal length, but a very narrow aperture. So it's an f11, you can't get, if it's low light, if it's overcast, it's kind of tough to get pictures, especially if you need to do a quick shutter speed, which you would typically do for birds and things like that. And so in the winter, it's a little tougher to get results from that lens. But I've been trying to get pictures of these hummingbirds that we have in our yard. And we have a lot of these Anna's hummingbirds. They're a hummingbird that I guess used to just live around in Baja, California, and southern west coast of the United States. But ever since the 60s and 70s, they've been spreading northward. In fact, they're even into British Columbia and I think as far north as Alaska sometimes. And they live here on the coast of Washington year-round as well. And I think it's mostly just because people have feeders and they've planted exotic flower species in their gardens and stuff. And these birds have just sort of followed people up the coast. And we have quite a few of them. They're very striking. They're pretty big for a hummingbird. I think they're close to 4 inches usually. And have these really beautiful, like bright red iridescent heads. And I've been trying to get footage of them, and I would like to do a video about them, but they are driving me insane because they are hummingbirds, and they're very fast. And I'll be out there, I'll go out into the garden, I've got my camera, and if it's on a day that isn't overcast, which is very rare this time of year in Western Washington, I'm out there like, okay, I'm ready. And then you hear it like a frickin' fighter jet just coming by your ear. Like they're so loud and they just buzz you because they're very aggressive too. If you're near their feeder, they come at you and try to intimidate you. So I'm like, ah, 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 ah. And it's just been so difficult to get any usable footage or usable photographs. But if any of you express any interest in the comment sections below, I will do my best to get some footage of these birds because they're so cool, they're so interesting to see, even just being able to see them through my lens. I'm just noticing so many cool behaviors and interesting things that they're doing. I would love to get, they do this thing where they go up like 30 meters into the air and then they just dive bomb, and right before they hit the ground, they go whoosh, and it makes this noise. I think it's, I don't know if it's like the wind through their feathers or something, but I guess that's some sort of mating display that they do, and they're doing it right now because this is the kind of year or the time of year when they start nesting. So I want to get some footage of these guys. I don't know how much patience I will have, but if you guys express interest, I will definitely try to follow through with that. So I get a particular question quite often, and it's one that I always, in the past, have kind of resisted trying to answer because it's tough for me. People ask me, you know, what are your top 5 pipe blends? What's your top this? What's your top that? And I always sort of shy away from that because my opinions change, you know, everything's kind of fluid. There's some nuance going on there, and it's hard for me to nail it down, but I had someone recently say, if you can't tell me what your favorite pipe is, could you at least tell me what your favorite pipe brand is? And that was from, I think, Gary. I don't have his question written down, but I think it was Gary. If that was you, Gary, thank you for the question. If it was not you, Gary, and it was a different name, I'm sorry, I forgot. So I'm gonna try to answer the question of what my favorite pipe brand is. Now, I've been very fortunate in the fact that so many amazingly generous viewers have sent me amazing pipes. I have gotten several Dunhills for free from people who are just wanted to express their appreciation for the channel and the stuff that I do here, and that is ridiculously amazing. I have gotten Castellos sent to me. I have purchased one Castello by myself. It was the first Castello I ever had. It was my Shape 55 pot in Sea Rock Briar, and I loved that pipe. And then I've gotten several more that people have just generously sent me. Our good friend Peter Straub has sent me some. Our good friend Gus has sent me some Dunhills. I can't even mention all the people who have sent amazing things. David Gaudreau, like amazing people have sent me amazing pipes. And so I've been very spoiled. So I don't have a huge breadth of knowledge. I've had Dunhills, I've had Castellos, I have an Ashton, I've had various Petersons, Savinellis, quite a few of the main sort of contenders, I guess, with mainstream pipes. I don't have a lot of the really boutique brands or the small kind of, you know, American pipe carvers and things like that. I do have a Tinsley though, or Tinsley, one of those. But judging by what I have been able to have in my own hands and experience, my top 2 brands would have to be Dunhill and Castello. Now, that's not to say that there aren't amazing pipes made by other manufacturers. Like I have my Savinelli Corallo di Mare, which is just fantastic. But I have the most experience with Castellos and Dunhills. And obviously there are so many other pipes that I haven't tried, so just bear in mind that this is based on what I've actually been able to try. So if I had to pick between Castello and Dunhill, it's really tough because I think one of my favorite pipes, and maybe even my very favorite pipe, might be my 1964 Dunhill Root Briar Saddle Bit Billiard. That pipe is absolutely fantastic. My 62 Dunhill Shell Briar Billiard is amazing. But those are pipes from the 60s, and I have not tried a Dunhill pipe from recent manufacture. I haven't had anything that's from like, I think I have a 69 or 70, that little tiny Dunhill that I have. So I don't have anything from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, 2020s. So I think I have to go with Castello because all of my Castellos are of fairly recent manufacture and they're all fantastic. They're really, really good. And I know that they're actually cheaper, I think for the most part, than current manufactured Dunhills. And the quality compares very favorably to Dunhills that were made in the 60s. So that should tell you something. So if you are looking for a modern pipe, one that was manufactured recently, that yes, it's expensive, but it is fairly reasonable compared to some of the other really high-end pipes out there. I have not had a single bad experience with a Castello, and I think I have 5, 6 Castellos now. Wow, I never thought I'd get to the point where I lost track of how many Castello pipes I have, but I do have to say, as far as consistency and just across-the-board excellence, I can't think of a better pipe brand than Castello right now. Now remember, I don't have experience with all the other brands out there, but from what I have smoked, Castello is my favorite pipe brand. But if you were gonna have to say, oh, what about a classic pipe brand, then I would probably say Dunhill. I just haven't had the recent Dunhills, so I don't know for sure. All right, gang, and now it is time for hashtag Ask Stuff and Thing. Remember, Stuff and Things. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at @SATBradley with the hashtag AskStuffandThings. You can also leave me comments on YouTube videos. I try to go through those and pick out questions, or if you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me on there. But via Twitter, we have a question from, I think this was Matt. I forgot to write the name down. Hold on, let me check this. Okay, yes, it is Matt Piccolo from Twitter, and the question is this: how long do you let your pipe dry after alcohol cleaning? Good question. I don't do that very often. That's something I might only do a couple times a year, or if my pipe seems to be getting really acrid and gross, I might use some alcohol to clean it out. And if I do, then I typically let it dry for an entire week or until it comes back into my cycle. And my cycle is about, it's about a 7-day cycle. So I have quite a few pipes and I go through them. Once I've had a couple bowls, I put it back on the rack and let it dry. So if I have cleaned something with alcohol, then it will typically sit for a good week. I have found that if you only let it go for a day or two, it's not going to be dry enough. You're still going to have that alcohol taste in there. So I typically would recommend about a week. Varies by pipe though. Next, from YouTube at the Joe Don Baker fan. I've heard of that name. Older actor, maybe. Can't picture them. I got my ham radio license yesterday, and I thought to myself, I wonder if my good friend Bradley has ever had an interest in amateur radio. Although, to be fair, I believe the phrase I used was the guy from Stuff and Things. So have you ever looked into ham radio? The test isn't that hard. I mean, even I passed it. That's interesting. I didn't know that you had to pass a test to do ham radio, but I guess that sort of makes sense. No, I've never really delved into that. I know that that was a thing maybe in like the late 70s, early 80s. I know some older people who used to talk about that. And what was that? There was that English bank heist movie where an amateur radio operator overheard them speaking on their walkie-talkies and tipped off the police or something. But it was like of that era. No, it seems interesting, but that's nothing that I've really delved into. But thank you for the question. That might be something I consider in the future. Next, from obviously a fake account. They say, "Hi Bradley, I could not find an email address to correspond with you, so I'm going to put my question here. How, if any way, can I date a tin of My Mixture 965 that says Dunhill, not Peterson? It says made in Denmark, manufactured in the EU under the authority of Dunhill Tea of London Limited. I found a local brick and mortar store today that had 3 tins left and I purchased them. I'm curious to know how much age they have on them." Off the top of my head, if I'm remembering correctly, there should be a string of numbers. So if this were a Dunhill tin, on the back of the tin there will be a barcode with a UPC. To the right of that, there will be another string of numbers. The first two digits in that string of numbers should be the year. So if I had a tin right now that was manufactured in 2020, it would say 20. Then it would have 2 more numbers that represented the day, and then 2 more numbers that represented the month. And I believe that's how they still do it with all the STG blends, including the former Dunhills that are now Petersons, and that's how I remember them doing it with the Dunhills. So year, day, month, and that's to the right of the UPC. It's not the UPC number. Imagine this is a barcode here. It's not the number that would be under the barcode. It's the number to the right of the barcode. So hopefully that helps. Next, we have a little bit of feedback from someone named Rex Hunter, and they were commenting on my guide to pipe essing, which I posted a while back. Their comment is this: esoteric equals understood by the few. So I guess he's quoting me. I must have said the word esoteric. I don't really remember. You want more, quote, normal people to get into pipe smoking? Don't be a prat and use the word esoteric in the first sentence. Ah! Oh, God. I think I just sprained my eyeballs because I was rolling them so forcefully. This might be a problem, gang. This might be a serious issue. Hold on. Oh, man. Okay, I think I got them back in the sockets properly. Oh, thanks a lot, Rex. I could have seriously injured my eyeballs there because I was rolling them so forcefully. Okay, but let's just not dismiss this comment out of hand. Rex might have a point here. Maybe I am using a much too high-level vocabulary for normal people to understand. So let me speak to you directly, Rex. I sorry. I try do better next time. Use gooder words for you understand much better. Thank you. And last, we have a question from Rooney, who says, love the hat, any info on it? And they were mentioning my sort of grayish newsboy cap that I was wearing last week. I believe I've mentioned this before, but it is made by Wigens Caps from Sweden. And I don't know if I could tell you the exact model, but it's a tweed hat, wool tweed, and it's by Wigens Caps in Sweden. So there you go. Thank you all for those questions. I appreciate it very much. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. They make this show go. They help pay for the fancy camera that is recording this right now, the lights shining upon me, the blends. Well, this one was sent to me by Sutliff, but most of the blends that I get for review, they really help out a lot, and it's much appreciated. And every week, we like to thank the Patreon supporters who support the channels at $25 or more a month by giving them a special shout out. So this week we would like to thank Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, Ryan McFadin, Matt Marino, Joe Heaphy, MDoftheNorth, and our good friend Gus. And of course the Maniacs, people like Peter Straub, Bob Magee, David Gaudreau, and Ashes of the Phoenix, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 or more a month. We couldn't thank you enough, and if you, gang, would like to support the channels, there is a link to our Patreon in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching, for subscribing, for commenting, for liking. I don't know if you're allowed to dislike anymore because YouTube is stupid, but you can still like videos. That helps. That's a good thing. Please stay tuned for the Cringle Flake. I'm still a little sick, actually, by the way. For the Cringle Flake review, or not review, the preview, not the preview. The first impressions video that will be coming out this Wednesday. And remember, the SPC, what is this again? SPC PPSRF video will be coming out eventually as well. We'll be getting to that blend and the Demon Souls series with our good friend Kevin the Kurt every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Stuff and Things Plays for the near future. Oh, but until next time, until we meet again, I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.